Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 1st, 2023 meeting of the Chatham Select Board. This is a regular business agenda for us this evening. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chair. Seeing none. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20 until March 31st, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceeding as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Channel 18, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. First action of the item of the evening is a roll call. Select Board Member DeCastro.
Present.
Select Board Member Davis.
Present.
Select Board Member Dykens.
Present.
Select Board Member Shell.
Present.
And Select Board Member Matters is present. A quick rundown of our agenda this evening. We will start with a set of minutes of approval. We will then move into public announcements and agenda item requests. Then to our public comment on business agenda. And our business agenda this evening will start with a Bikeways Committee bench donation. We will then actually at that stage, I will turn the meeting over to our Vice Chair, Mike Shell, for a discussion on dates and content for 2 town hall style meetings for the Center of Active Living special town meeting articles. Then I will step back in to consider the abatement of taxes for 0 Meeting House Road. We then have 3 appointments, 1 for election officials, 1 for the Pleasant Bay Alliance, and 1 for Community Preservation Committee. And we will wrap up the evening with a executive session with the Select Board and not going back into open session afterward. So with all that being said, we will start with the minutes of July 25th, 2023. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Yes. Second.
Okay, second. Okay. Corrections, omissions, Dean, I see your hand up. And actually, if I see some people's names, so if I don't hear you, I'm going to pause a little bit, but make sure you call out if I'm not calling you. So work with me tonight. Thank you. Dean, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several, starting on page 2, under public announcements, Roman numeral 2, where it says Mr. Shell discussed the 2 town hall type meetings sponsored by the Select Board. Well, the board hasn't taken a position on whether we're going to go forward with this or not. At this point, it's simply a recommendation, and it's on our agenda for this evening. So I would like to strike the phrase sponsored by the Select Board and just substitute and sponsored by the Select Board on and substitute the phrase proposed for. That's a reflection of the state of affairs. Then on page 6, at the bottom, the very bottom line where it says the board agreed to hold on the matter. Well, we didn't take a vote, so it was really a consensus. I think that should be rephrased to read the consensus of the board was to hold on the matter. For more information and insert the board took no action at this time. Okay. And on page 8, again, this sort of goes back to something I brought up a couple weeks ago in the minutes, and this is right in the middle. There's before the vote, it says the board suggested that the COA Board of Directors survey its current members. I think that was a suggestion just from one member, so it really wasn't a suggestion of the whole board, not that we necessarily disagree with it. I would substitute the passive voice. It was suggested, or it was that's typically the way we've done it in the past. So it was suggested by, that the board, COA board. Up at the top of that page, Council on Aging Board of, fourth line, regarding the Council on Aging Board of Directors request to expand. I don't, maybe that is the way it was written in the agenda. I don't remember. They really didn't request it. They're interested in it. I would substitute the word interest, but if that's the way it was in the agenda, Kathy, just keep it the way it was in the agenda. And lastly, on page 9, right up at the top, the board inquired. I think it should simply say board members. Again, we didn't really take any action on that. That's it.
Thank you. Additional corrections or omissions? Seeing none. All right. Select Board Member DeCastro,
Aye.
Select Board Member Davis,
Aye.
Select Board Member Dykens,
Aye.
Select Board Member Shell,
Aye.
and Select Board Member Metter says aye. All right. Public announcements and agenda item request. Anything from the board? Anything from the public? Jill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to announce again that we're having a send-off for Dr. Bob on Thursday, August 3rd from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Town Hall Annex Small Meeting Room. Public is invited and all are welcome. So again, that is Thursday, August 3rd from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Annex Lower Level Small Meeting Room. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public announcements or agenda item request? I don't see any additional names or hands up. All right, moving on. Public comment on our business agenda. Once again, we have a Bikeways Committee bench donation, a discussion of dates and content for 2 town hall style meetings for the Center of Active Living, and consider the abatement of taxes for 0 Meeting House Road. So I will open it up to the public at this time. I see one hand. I see a hand. I don't see a name. Anyone can guide me here?
Unmute me, I can tell them who it is.
It looks like it was
Barbara
Barbara Siegel.
It's
Barbara.
Barbara
Yes,
Siegel.
Barbara Siegel, yes,
Barbara,
I will
go
have
ahead.
I will have a comment when you talk about the meeting, the community meeting.
This is the time to speak.
I know when it comes up on the agenda.
Right, we're taking public comment on the upcoming agenda.
It is on the agenda, isn't it?
Correct. So what the format we've been following, and I actually will defer just because I will be turning this part of the meeting over to our vice chair. So maybe if he wants to chime in, I will defer to him if he wants to allow public comment during the item. But traditionally, what we've been doing lately is we're opening up agenda item comments at the beginning of our business agenda. And then we go into this board deliberation and comments at each item. So Mike, since you're running this part of the meeting.
All right, Barbara, if you have a comment on I presume you're talking about item B, the discussion of dates and content for the town hall style meetings. Now is the time to make that comment or to.
Okay, I will make my comments then now. I just want on the record that the number of public meetings, not including town meeting, Council on Aging Board of Directors meeting, or Finance Committee meeting, since 2015, there were 37 public meetings. Also, I want to add one thing, what has been spent so far by the town, the financial expenses outside the operating budgets, a total of $442,580. That number is made up of preliminary studies and test fix from 2016 to 2019, feasibility study at the middle school, at 1610 Main Street, at Stepping Stone, at Stony Hill Community Center bifurcated model. And I don't have the figures yet. I don't know if they exist yet for the 2023 We don't have an annual, oh, no, that one also includes 17,500 for 1610 Main Street plan. That went to first town meeting. The only one I don't have the figure for is the one that is the 1610 2023 town updates projected budget. I just want it on record, what has been spent so far and how many meetings we have held so far. And I look forward to this next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, additional public comments? I don't see any other hands up. Anyone else see any hands up? All right, we're good to go. All right, moving on to our business agenda. First, Bikeways Committee bench donation. I believe we have the Bikeways Committee Chair, Mr. Bob Oliver, on. Bob, good evening. I think you're muted.
Hi, Corey. I think Rob is going to start off. Rob Fraley.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm the Bikeways Committee liaison. This agenda item kind of got brought up in front of the select board in a roundabout way, so it didn't follow the normal path. So I apologize. So there are many users of the Old Colony Rail Trail in addition to bikers. The absence of benches for people to rest has been observed, and so the Bikeways Committee saw this as an opportunity to introduce some bench program for donors to memorialize loved ones. Bob, is your connectivity okay? You want to take it from here, or do you want me to keep going?
I'll be glad to take it from here. I won't take up too much of your time, but basically, as you know, the Old Colony Rail Trail is 8 miles. We've got 4.6 miles in Chatham. In the 4.6 miles, we have one bench. That bench is located at the rest area at the airport. So anybody that gets on that trail has got to walk several miles with not a stone, not a log, not a bench, nothing to sit on whatsoever. In comparison, there's 3.4 miles in Harwich. They have 10 benches during that period, during that length of the trail that they have. So the point is, we've identified a need. We think, we being the Bikeways Committee, for benches, and we conducted a trail usage count on Sunday, 2 days ago. And we conducted that at the airport in the little rest area there where the picnic table is and benches. We did it from dawn to dusk. We had a member count the usage. And the usage was 1,098. 1,098. Of that 1,000, first of all, that 1,098 compares with about 204 less than that in August of 2021. So it's an increase of 23% usage. The count taking this basically the same day, weekend day, same place at one point in time versus another point in time. The usage in the last 2 years is up 23%. Of the 23% increase, many of those are bikers, but there's also non-cyclists there. In fact, on Sunday, we logged 233 people that were not cyclists. And just to let you know, 135 were walkers and 98 were joggers, and then it goes to skateboards, child carriers, and the like. The point being that those people were going basically from George Ryder Road west towards, let's say, 137. Their first opportunity to sit down would have been 2 miles at that point, in either direction, 2 miles. If you start at the beginning of the trail, which is at Veterans Field, your first opportunity to sit down is 2.6 miles. If you start at the airport, it's 2 miles. You can't go in any direction without having at least a 2 mile walk to have any place to sit down. So we believe the identified need. So I'm familiar with other programs, and especially one in Wellesley, Massachusetts. They've put in 65 benches in the town. All of them have been donated. All of them memorialized in some way, fashion, or form, and the town basically has paid nothing. And of course, I'm also familiar with the town has the Park and Rec department has a similar bench program. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to go to the next step and just test whether or not there is interest in the donor program for the Old Colony Rail Trail. And the only way I could think of doing that was to put an article in the Cape Cod Chronicle and have interested parties respond to that article. So I gave a draft of the article to Shauna, and Shauna took it from there, made a couple changes, and then suggested that we come to the select board to basically endorse that next step. And that's where we are.
Great. Well, thank you, Bob. Questions or comments from the board? Dean, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. Hi, Bob. Thank you very much for your presentation, and to Rob Feely also. I really just had a suggestion and a question. You're requesting up to that there be a limit of 4 benches, and my question is why even have a limit at this point? You're probably just testing it out, but why limit yourselves?
We're not. We're really not limiting ourselves. I mean, if we got a dozen people, we've identified, or in my mind, we've identified 4 locations for benches. Ultimately, whoever donates the money and each bench cost is approximately $2,500, and that includes installation and maintenance, and it's warranted for 10 years. But so the point is where it's most needed is on the stretch from George Ryder Road west to the border, and we would put 1 bench every 2/3 of a mile. So 3 benches along there, and then one bench east of George Ryder Road for a total of 4. Now, clearly, if we've got more interest, then we can do one of 2 things. We can change it to 4 is very manageable, and when I talked to Rob about installing benches, Rob wants to do it the right way, and that would put, we're talking about a concrete foundation for these benches because they have metal legs and everything else, and we want to make sure they last a very long time. But that's going to be a lot of work. So we thought we would start with 4. Now, if we get more interest than that, then I would suggest that we handle that as another normal donation where the person comes to you and wants to donate a bench in this location or whatever, and you folks would accept or not accept that. But
well, I was thinking that you would might want to follow the model of the Parks and Recreation Commission, where everybody goes to them first on their properties, and then they present to us. I think that would be more efficient for us, for the select board. If we were to take a vote tonight and it's limited to 4, then any changes you'd have to come back to us to change it. It's up to you, whatever you want to do, but I just assume take the limit off and let the Bikeways Committee function in this area just as the Parks and Rec Commission functions. Anyway, the suggestion I had was, in addition to putting this in the Cape Cod Chronicle, and maybe Shauna's already mentioned this to you, you might want to put this on the main sheet, so that because that gets digital distribution every week. Anyway, thank you. I certainly am supportive of the committee's recommendation.
So Dean, I'm more than willing to change the number. Shauna's can do that. And I guess the question only would be, if there's fewer, does it make it look like it's more desirable and attract more people? But
Frozen.
Rosen.
Yeah, we could just take out that 4 limitation. Shauna would have to do that as part of the article before she puts it in.
Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, I would suggest that you just say a minimum of 4 benches to be placed along the Old Colony Rail Trail. That doesn't limit you in any way, shape, or form. You're going to do the 4 that you've got planned. My question was going to be, where are we going to put them? And you answered that question. So I would just change the verbiage to say, at least 4 benches along the Cape Cod Rail Trail. And I think it's a great idea. I use that stretch between George Ryder and Sam Ryder all the time. So it's a great idea, and I thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, I just, as to numbers, I mean, if there's a standard approach here that Parks and Rec uses, and I have to admit, I'm not fully familiar with that, that would seem to make sense as a model. The question I had was, are these donations tax deductible? That was one question, and then the other question I had was, and again, if we're following the Parks and Rec model and people want to, recognize somebody or remember somebody on a bench that's placed in a public location, I'm all for that. But I just wondered if given the $10,000 expenditure that's contemplated here for the 4 that you had in mind, whether that was something that anybody gave any thought to asking the town for.
So asking the town for the 10,000? Well, first of all, if I went to the CPC for that money, I think the first question they would ask me is, have you tried to do a donor program associated with this? And so that's why we're pursuing this first. And then if we do not have interest, it's $2,500 is a lot of money. If we do not have sufficient interest, then we will make application November 1st for whatever money we need for the remaining benches.
Okay. And do you happen to know, or maybe Jill, is it tax deductible to the donor?
I don't know. I assume it is, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would presume it is as well. Unless Alex, she's on here. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I just mentioned one other thing. I did talk to Park and Rec about their program. The benches we're going to be getting are exactly the same as the one we do have, which, by the way, was installed 18 years ago, and is held up very well. So we actually do have a history with the particular bench that we'll be putting in, and people will be able to go over and look at it in the rest area, George Ryder Road, and they'll know exactly what they're getting. And the memorial plaque will actually be put on the bench at the factory, and it will be done so that it will minimize the possibility of vandalism. They countersink the screws, and then they put a plug in it and glue it in and everything else. Vandals can do, if they want to, eventually they can do something, but this is going to be done well at the factory before it even comes here.
Shireen?
I took my hand down, Corey. I'm fine.
All right. Alex, your hand's up?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, just a couple comments. Yes, these would be tax deductible. And then as far as the CPC donation goes, that would only be if they were not memorial benches. If they are memorial benches in memoriam for a certain person, it would have to go out to bid, subject to public procurement, because that's got a value for the person. So again, if it's a donation bench and the town's not paying for it, that's fine. But if someone wants to donate the bench, that's fine. But if it is, a donation and the town pays for it, that's different.
Right, Alex, and my understanding is the bench itself is about $1,700, and the difference between the $1,700 and the $2,500 is the cost of installation and maintenance. And I don't know if you would, from a procedural standpoint, retain that money in your revolving account for donations, and then when necessary pay it out, or it would go somewhere else, but whatever excess there is.
We can do that. The donation to pay for the bench can be pay for the bench, and then for the maintenance, we could put that in the bikeways. I think you do have a revolving account that would pay for that maintenance.
Okay.
All right. Additional questions from anyone? No, I think we're good. Okay. Entertain a motion.
I will make the motion that we endorse the Bikeways Committee's request to accept donations for benches to be placed on the Old Colony Rail Trail. I think we agreed we were going to leave the number restriction out of it.
All right. Do I hear
Second.
additional questions or comments from the board? All right. We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor? Select Board Member DeCastro.
Aye.
Select Board Member Davis.
Aye.
Select Board Member Dykens.
Aye.
Select Board Member Shell.
Aye.
And Select Board Member Metters says aye. Bob, good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. All right. At this point in our agenda, I'm going to virtually step aside, mute myself, and turn the meeting over to our Vice Chair, Mr. Mike Shell, for the next agenda item.
So this agenda item is a discussion of a proposal that actually twin proposals that I made back on July 11th, that the board host, sponsor, incorporate. I'm sorry?
You froze a little bit just then.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. This follows on and amplifies a proposal I made on July 11th for the board to sponsor or host at board meetings 2 town hall style discussions. I'll elaborate a little bit here in a minute. And by the way, I want to say I think that the staff memo on this was done extremely well, and the details in there are pretty much spot on in terms of what was proposed and what is on the table this evening. But in any event, the first one is a responsive to the desire of the board, and I think we did endorse this request of the town manager to do a refreshment of the cost analysis that we originally had of the Center for Active Living project on March 8th, and that she enlists the architect, Mr. Bargman, and the OPM, Mr. Pomeroy, to go over the numbers that were presented at that time and refresh them and do whatever else might be necessary or appropriate to give a high degree of confidence that whatever's presented at this cost meeting has as high a degree of reliability as could be achieved. In that context, the thought has been discussed. I don't know at this point whether this will actually materialize, but that they would be supported by one of the 2 cost estimators. There are 2 who did the work the last time and are redoing the work this time as an additional resource, not only for us but for the public, and that meeting would essentially be a discussion of the costs. That's aspect 1 of it. Aspect 2, which has come up in the meantime, is the possibility that the building could be qualified under applicable regulatory standards as an environmental, an emergency evacuation center, known colloquially, at least to me, as a overnight warming center. And the concept would be that the building, either with design changes or without, depending on whether they're required, could qualify as an emergency evacuation center. And we would also hear in sort of an alternative presentation what would be the any additional costs that would be associated with qualifying the building as an overnight warming center. And so that is in the works as well. And the idea of the meeting really is to give the public essentially open season to inquire, to listen, to test the assumptions that are presented and the conclusions that are presented at that meeting. I think the proposal in terms of setting dates, the recommendation is that cost meeting would take place on the 22nd of August. The second meeting is more of a community discussion type of meeting. Once again, it's the select board conducting, if you will, more in the fashion of a moderator, a collective group moderator for the town, for the community to be able to come in, make their case, make speeches, make presentations, make arguments, inquire, let their fellow community members, their neighbors know what their position is and why and what they think the arguments are. And the select board would be more of the monitor and the moderator of that discussion than a participant. So that's the general, that meeting is proposed to be held on September 12th, which I think is a Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, I'm wrong. It's a Tuesday, September 12th. Yeah, so they're both basically on dates and at times that are our meetings, but they would be both would be open meetings to discuss the proposal to be considered at the special town meeting on September 18th. So I will stop there and invite the board to comment, question, whatever.
Mike, we had Shireen was first and then Dean with their hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just waiting for people to talk. Yeah, go ahead, Shireen.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks for putting this together and working with the town to make this presentation to us. I had a couple of questions about the form and just a clarification. The first meeting is the designers and it'll all be about cost. And people are, will it be questions exclusive to the cost? Are we going to allow comments or statements, or is it simply just questions about the cost?
I
How do you see that?
Yeah, my concept is that the focus will be cost, but I think, you know, my view is that we should. This is the opportunity for everybody to speak their piece. I would hope that the first meeting will address the costs and the contingencies and the uncertainties around the cost of the building. And that the second meeting will address the rest of it, the merits and whatever other issues people want to raise, both, by the way, on a positive note, as well as on any concerns or opposition that people want to express.
Secondly, will there be a time limit to questions or numbers of questions for the first meeting, would there be a time limit for the public to make presentations to at the second meeting or statements? How do you see that?
Yeah, the staff proposal for the second meeting is that questions, I need to reread this, but I think the idea is that questions and presentations, et cetera, be submitted no later than a week in advance, September 5. I would use that opportunity to, make a judgment about something that was overly long or overly whatever, But I would hope that we'd be able to have let's say a restriction of reasonableness as opposed to a hard 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or whatever.
Okay, so just to be clear, so I understand and the public understands, if somebody was to attend the second meeting with just an ad hoc statement coming out or rebuttal to, I mean, do you foresee rebuttals to statements or anything like that happening? Do you see anybody making a real-time presentation without having submitted an email or to the town?
No, I think, anything that they want to present in the sense of it's being put up on the screen has to be submitted by the 5th of September. If somebody wants to make a speech, I think we'd like to ask people to be reasonable in all respects, including concise and not overly. We don't want to have anybody. We're not going to have any filibusters.
Okay, so the clarity is if you're submitting materials for a presentation, it's by September 5th. If you are speaking or want to speak, you can come to the meeting and speak freely without having pre-registered or sent your statement in.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
I think, I guess you're next up, Dean.
Thank you, Mike. Just a couple of things. I do want to talk about the format. We just heard from Barbara Siegel saying there had been 37 meetings, so I assume a lot of those were select board meetings. With respect to the proposed meeting on costs, I was wondering why you think it merits a separate session all by itself as opposed to having that as a portion of our regular select board meeting, let's say on August 15th or August the 29th. We'd have to do it before we close the warrant. The other meeting, I think, it being a freestanding meeting by itself, I understand that one, but I'm trying to have I'm having a little bit of, well, it's not so much concern. It's a matter of wonder why we think the cost section needs to be a separate night by itself as opposed to folding it into an agenda item on one of our regular board meetings.
I think, first of all, from my perspective, this is a major concern of a number of people in town on the subject, and it is something. As if we go back to the March 8th meeting, my recollection is that meeting went on until 8 o'clock. We had other agenda items. I don't remember how much time they consumed, but I think this identifies from our perspective a focus that says we're gonna attend to this and nothing else for the benefit of the community. And whether it's first of all, I don't think we'll be ready by the 15th, and the 22nd gives us plenty of time to get the material in front of people, listen to the issues, listen to the questions. And give the experts the opportunity to present an estimate that at the end of the day we have a high degree of confidence is going to be reflected in the bids that we get when we go out to RFPs if we get the authorization.
And I guess this is a question to Jill, and I'm going to come back to the form. When we got the article presented to us, recommendation to town meeting. I guess we have to place it as well. I'm not sure about that because we've already called for the town meeting on this issue. I assume it's going to have a dollar amount in there. There will be a number in there, Jill, right? For the
yes, that's the intention, and we are looking to close the warrant on August 29th, so we can get it posted by September 1st.
Okay, so that's consistent with what Mike is saying. Mike, I just wanted to offer my comments. It sounds like you are moving in this direction with respect to both meetings. And I guess particularly with respect to the second meeting, if somebody, as Serene suggested, has a presentation, suppose somebody puts together a PowerPoint on building the Council on Aging at another location. Is that, and they submit that by the requisite date, September the 5th or whatever it is. Your intention would be that that would be permitted?
I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest with you. I think that, my view is that's a waste of people's time. The proposal is to put the CFAL at 1610 Main Street. We have looked at 11 different locations over a period of 8 years. I think at the moment that is not something that's on. I mean, you can stand up and say you think it would be better at some other place, but there is no other place somebody can name that hasn't been thoroughly considered. And indeed, 3 different places have gone to town meetings on one basis or another. So I would my attitude toward that would be it's a waste of people's time.
Okay. With respect to allowances for speakers, I agree that anybody who just shows up and wants to speak should be permitted to speak, even if they haven't submitted anything in advance. And while I would encourage the speakers to be, reasonable in the time that they speak, and encourage them perhaps to stay within maybe a 5-minute limit, as we do at town meeting. It's an absolute rule at town meeting. I would certainly want to be generous in allowing people to complete their thoughts within reason, and to speak again if they speak after all others have been given an opportunity to speak. So I view this as more of a freewheeling exercise. Well, it's more than an exercise, but freewheeling opportunity for people to speak on both sides or all sides of this issue, so that no one can say, even though people have said it, and I think they've been incorrect in saying it, that they never got a chance to address this topic. The last thing I wanted to say, I agree. I think the board should be present and we can ask questions, and I guess we should make comment if it moves us to do so individually. But I think we should have a fairly passive role in this. We should be listening. I do think there should be one person identified to run the session. It's obviously not going to be Corey. You're the vice chair. You're the next in line. And is it your thinking that you would fill that role, or should Jill fill it?
No, I think I would fill it. But with the support and assistance of the other board members.
Okay. That's fine. I just don't want, this board obviously is fully in support of the proposal we're bringing forward. So I just want people to understand that they're going to get a fair shake, even if they're on the other side of the issue. That's all.
I would endorse all of those comments, Dean. Thank you.
Okay.
Those
are my comments. Thank you.
Yeah, those were great, Dean. And my basic question was, I think Mike runs the meeting, I would think, and then when we jump in as appropriate. So I just want to be able to respond if we need to respond, that not be muzzled, if you will, during the course of the meeting if we have an issue that we'd like to address. But I assume that Mike would run the meeting. And in terms of time limits, I think 5 minutes is generous. I think, if you can't get it done in 5 minutes, then you're waxing and waning. You really, 5 minutes is enough. So I think there ought to be a 5-minute time limit. And I feel pretty strongly about that. Otherwise, it can get unraveled. And anyway, those are my thoughts, Mike. I think it's good. I think it's good to have a session on costs, and it's a burning issue in town. And I think it's important to focus on it and to have the experts there so they can answer the questions that we are unable to do so. So thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Shereen. Yeah, you're muted.
I'm going to make a motion, but I just wanted to comment that I think the passive role as moderators of the select board would be, I think would be great to be able to hear people. We've voted, but if there's some clarification, we can definitely jump in. I was saying that I'm going to move that we set the dates of the upcoming meetings, 2 meetings being a question and presentation meeting to the public, and the other being a citizens presentation to the public for the dates Tuesday, August 22, 2023 at 5:30, and a second to be held September 12th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. And that the presentations and questions be limited to 5 minutes.
Second.
Also,
I'm sorry?
and
Go
also to endorse the formats that we discussed tonight.
I'll just make the further comment. I hear you with the 5 minutes, and I will vote in favor of that. I do want to say that I think in the note that Dean mentioned about not cutting somebody off in the middle of a thought, I think we can have some flexibility even in the context of a 5-minute limitation. But with that, I would, if there are no further comments or questions or discussion, I will entertain a vote. Select Member Nicastro.
Aye.
Select Member Dykens.
Aye.
Select Member Davis.
Aye.
And Select Member Shell votes aye. Thank you very much. We can have Corey back.
Thank you, Mike, very much. All right, moving right along. Item C, consider the abatement of taxes on 0 Meeting House Road. We have our Finance Director, Alex Halela, on. Alex, good evening.
Good evening again. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, the town did purchase 0 Meeting House Road for affordable and attainable housing, and there are still some taxes owed from FY 2023. And per Mass General Law, this is really just a formality that the Select Board needs to apply to the Board of Assessors to abate the taxes. The outstanding taxes are $971.79, and the Board of Assessors is meeting on August 3rd. So if you approve this, that will go before them on that date.
All right, questions or comments from the board? Dean, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. Alex, why are there any taxes on this property? All it's held by a religious institution, or is it because this particular parcel is not being used for religious purposes?
The latter is correct. This parcel was not used for religious purpose, so that's why there was some remaining taxes on it, as I understand it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I move approval that the board vote to request an abatement of the remaining FY 2023 taxes on 0 Meeting House Road, parcel ID number 4E-11A-22A, per chapter 59, section 72A of the Massachusetts General Laws.
All right, do I hear a second? All right, all those in favor, Select Board Member DeCastro,
Aye.
Select Board Member Davis,
Aye.
Select Board Member Dykens,
Aye.
Select Board Member Shell,
Aye.
and Select Board Member Metter says aye. All right, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our first of 3 appointments. First is the election officials. Is Julie, our town clerk, on? Yeah, Julie, how you doing?
I'm here. Good evening. I will be very brief. This is my annual request that the Select Board appoint the election officials as submitted to you in my memo of July 17th, 2023, with a term ending September 30th, 2024.
Questions or comments from the board? Entertain a motion.
I move approval of the recommendation for the appointment of election officials as submitted by the town clerk.
Do I hear a
Second.
All right, all those in favor, Select Board Member DeCastro,
Aye.
Select Board Member Davis,
Aye.
Select Board Member Dykens,
Aye.
Select Board Member Shell,
Aye.
and Select Board Member Metter says aye. All right.
you.
Next, we have the Pleasant Bay Alliance. Actually, they're flip-flopped in our packet, but we'll start with the Pleasant Bay Alliance. We have 1 opening. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Janet Williams as an alternate to the Pleasant Bay Alliance, and until work is completed, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
Okay, do I hear a second? Just for clear, is it technically, it's not an alternate and actually, correct? There was a clarification on that.
Correct. This is Kathy. It is, I confirmed with the Pleasant Bay Alliance, and it has since changed since our records, which is why initially it went out as an alternate, but they confirmed that each town is allowed 2 full members.
All right, so this is for a full position. All right, so we have a motion by Jeff, and did we get a second?
I did, I second.
All right, thank you, Shereen. All right, with that being said, all those in favor, select board, oh, Dean, do you have a question?
No, I was trying to lower my hand. Kathy said what I was going to say, but I'm unable to lower my hand for some reason. Aye.
Select board member Davis,
Aye.
select board member Dykens,
Aye.
select board member Shell,
Aye.
and select board member Metter says aye. We have the Community Preservation Committee. We have one open seat. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Ann Ryan to the Community Preservation Committee until June 30, 2026, unless sooner revoked or a successor is appointed.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, select board member DeCastro.
Corey, I just wanted, this is another item where there needs to be a clarification. We should insert the phrase, I'll ask Mike to amend his motion, as an at-large member.
Okay,
I will accept that amendment and consider the motion to have made as amended.
And I assume Jeff's going to second that.
I seconded it. Yeah.
Or whoever did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
thank you for that clarification. All right, so all those in favor, select board member DeCastro,
Aye.
select board member Davis,
Aye.
select board member Dykens,
Aye.
select board member Shell,
Aye.
and select board member Metter says aye. Final action of the evening, we are scheduled to go into executive session. Would someone want to do the honors?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
I move that this is item 5, Select Board Executive Session, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, number 3, Paragraph 3. I move that the Select Board go into executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Paragraph 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation in the matter of Seth Taylor versus Chatham Select Board, parenthesis Barnstable Superior Court, number 2372 CV00236, close parenthesis. Whereas an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the town, and the chair so declares with no return to open session.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, select board member DeCastro,
Aye.
select board member Davis,
Aye.
select board member Dykens,
Aye.
select board member Shell,
Aye.
and select board member Metter says aye. Okay, we will join in the next link and the executive session. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.